So, it's 2022, and the used car market is absolutely out of control. Cars are worth more now on the used car market than what they were new. And with that being said, we're left with little options. However, I'm going to be giving the top 5 sports cars that you can get used for $25,000 or less in today's current market. Starting at number 5, no car list would be complete without the Mazda MX-5 Miata. I'm specifically talking about the newest generation. This is, I believe, 2017 and up. There's a lot of these cars out there with respectable mileage, and it is a rear-wheel drive stick-shift platform that is low in weight. If you're looking to have a nice street car, this might not be the car for you, but if you think you're going to take your car to the track, this is one of the best cars out there to do it. The low weight is going to give you superb handling, and the car is going to be much lighter on consumables, meaning your brakes and tires. Anything heavier is going to eat through those and overall cost you a lot more. The other good thing is that the Miata gets 29 miles per gallon, making it very efficient in today's world where gas is $5 to $6 a gallon depending on where you live. Once again, the Miata is extremely light, coming in at a curb weight of 2,332 pounds, making it an absolute toy to just throw around on the track. The agility the Miata gives you will allow for a great handling experience on any curvy road. Now, the downside, obviously, is the minute that road straightens out, you can put your foot down and wait 3 business days and you still won't be doing 60 miles an hour. However, if that's more in your taste, there will be cars further up the list that are better suited for you. Now, this newest generation of the Miata still comes with 155 horsepower. I know it's practically a Hellcat. However, in 2019, the car got a bump to 185 horsepower. Now, while that might sound like it's nothing, that's actually a pretty significant jump when you consider the power to weight ratio. So if you can manage a 2019 and find a quality one under 25,000, I would advise that over a 2016 or 2017 being the earlier years of the generation. Additionally, if you want to save even more money, all the previous generations of Miatas are far cheaper, far more affordable. However, the reason I'm recommending this newest generation is mainly the creature comforts of it. The car as a whole has improved as far as livability is concerned, as advancements in technology have occurred. Also, if your goal is to own this car for the long run, owning a newer generation is going to suit that much better. A lot of the older ones either have high mileage or are 10 to 15 years old. And when that happens, that time will show itself. The Miata's never been an unreliable car, but just the fact that the newer ones are, well, newer, you're probably going to have less issues in the long run. Coming in fourth on this list is the Nissan 370Z. This is another car that is a stick-shift rear-wheel drive platform that comes with a 3.7-liter V6 that makes 332 horsepower at a decently high redline of 7,000 RPM. It does decent on miles per gallon at 19 to 26 and is a great platform if you plan on modifying your car. This is a car that you can get to have a lot of power pretty easily. I know there's multiple supercharger and turbo kits out on the market that make these things absolutely fly. The drivetrain seems to hold up pretty well to abuse and adding additional power. But if you want to keep the car stock and save some money, it still is completely respectable in all aspects of performance. It's not too heavy, coming in at 3,400 pounds, which might sound heavy compared to the Miata, but I promise you is lighter than some of the cars coming later on this list. The 370Z is pretty livable, having back seats that aren't entirely usable and a decent amount of trunk space. It's a car that's not going to break down on you and is known for being pretty reliable. You're going to be able to get a lot of usage out of this car and not have to worry about how many miles are on it or, any wear and tear on it, because there's so many of them out on the market that the competition to sell one is not really that high. This is a car that's going to hold its value decently well, at least until Nissan releases the next generation. And although Nissan has just released the new generation with the 400Z, it's probably going to take people numerous years to even be able to get a hold of one, not to mention the price being north of $40,000. That being said, the 370Z seems to hold its price between $20,000 and $25,000 pretty well, with many examples being available for less than $25,000 with 50,000 miles or less on them, which is going to allow you to own the car for a very long time. And wrapping up, if you want a car that's not going to eat through its gas tank but is still going to produce a respectable amount of power, the Nissan 370Z is quite a steal of a quality street car. Coming in third, do beware, you're going to have to know your way around a car and how to hold a wrench if you get into this one, but the Subaru STI/WRX. These are a little bit hard to find at the moment, especially under $25,000. I have found a few of the newest generation STIs under $25,000, but they usually have slightly higher mileage. So if you want to get a lower mileage one, you're probably going to hop back to the 2008 to 2014 generation, or either the Hawkeye or Blobeye that came before that. These are absolutely great cars. I owned one myself. They're a complete blast to drive. The all-wheel drive platform is like nothing else, and they are highly modifiable. If you want to add easy power to them, if you want to make them sound good, if you want to make them look good, you can do all of that for a relatively cheap price. The aftermarket support here is endless. There are no limits to what you can do to the car. On the other hand, you could get into the WRX, which you're going to be able to get significantly newer with significantly lower mileage for that same price tag. Now, in the newest generation, it's not going to have that same boxer rumble because it has equal length headers. The other thing that the WRX has going for it over the STI is the fact that it's more reliable. All your typical Subaru head gasket jokes don't necessarily apply to the newest generation of the WRX, as the FA20 engine has seemed to have somewhat solved this issue. Now, the STI is obviously going to give you more power, sound better, and there's a lot more heritage surrounding the car. But if you want to get long-term use out of it, especially if you're going to be using it as a daily driver, the WRX might be the better suited option for you. Now, the newest generation that was just released for 2022, I'm not even really considering this conversation because I consider it an absolute train wreck. The WRX looks absolutely miserable, and the STI is not even being made. So those are pretty much out of the question. The good news is that a lot of the cars from Subaru's glory days have now found themselves on the used car market, all for a pretty reasonable price. So if you want the car that could do it all and make you smile every time that you get in it, the Subaru WRX and STI are probably a good consideration for you. Coming in at number 2, a car that I could barely believe even found its way onto this list is the 2010 to 2013 5th generation Camaro SS, coming with a massive 6.2-liter V8 that makes a whole 426 horsepower. This is another car that is rear-wheel drive and stick shift, but now coming with big power to back it up. The big downside is fuel consumption, getting only 16 to 24 miles per gallon. It's kind of crazy to think that now a lot of the big V8 muscle cars from only 10 years ago are dropping into reasonable price ranges. And even in today's world, there's plenty of good examples of the 2010 to 2013 Camaro SS for under $25,000. Now, this car might not be the best handling and probably wouldn't be ideal to take to a track, but if you're looking for just a street car that's going to absolutely thrill you every time that you put your foot down and throw you into the back of your seat and give you that guttural feeling in your stomach, the Camaro SS is probably a good choice for you. On the flip side of this equation is the Ford Mustang from similar years. While also a very good car, these are a little bit cheaper than the Camaros, coming in at around $20,000, and I personally think the Camaro looks and performs better. But if you are currently looking for a used car, and power is one of the biggest things that attracts you about sports cars, then the 2013 Camaro SS is the car for you. And coming in at a very surprising number 1 is the C5Z Corvette. This is the years from 2005 to 2013, although most of the ones I've been able to find for 25 or less are between the years of 2005 and 2008. The reason behind that is that those years came with the LS2 engine producing 400 horsepower. Meanwhile, they got bumped to 430 in 2009 when they got the LS3. Now this car follows the same equation of big engine, rear-wheel drive, stick shift, big power V8s as the Camaro did. However, the Corvette is significantly lighter and achieved a 50-50 front-to-back weight ratio in the C5 generation that carried into the C6. This means great handling and a car that is an absolute monster on the track. This is a car that can do everything the Camaro can and more. It can handle like the Miata and accelerate like the Camaro. This gives you the best of both worlds, all at a price that is roughly the same. And if the word Corvette sounds attracting to you, but you're looking for a car with slightly lower mileage, look no further than the C5 generation. And you might even be able to find a few C5 Z06s around that same price. I just own a C5 Z06 and sold it for $24,500, so it can be done. These are also great cars, coming with 405 horsepower in the Z06 variation and 350 in the base model variation, but they give you a very similar performance to the C6 at a fraction of the cost. The only downside is that they're a little bit older, and me personally, I think that they are not as good looking. However, if the performance of it is what's calling to you, the Corvette is the answer. And whether you go with the C5 or the C6, neither is a bad choice. The only other thing I want to note is the difference in interior. And while that might sound like it doesn't mean much, having owned a C5, I could tell you that it is an absolute rattlebox. Everything you touch creaks, everything moves, everything slides around. It's not pleasant to be inside of one. And if you don't mind that, then go ahead and buy a C5 and save yourself the money. However, if you can afford the C6 and find a good one for $25,000 or less, the upgrades that they made to the interior were more than significant. The car is so much better put together with no creakiness anywhere and gives a much more comfortable put together feel to the driver. But in all honesty, you can't go wrong with either generation. If you want the car that once again does it all, but provides the power of the Camaro with the handling of the Miata and the livability of the 370Z, then the C6 Corvette is the move for you. So that's going to wrap up my list of the top 5 used sports cars in today's current insane car market. Now, if you think of anything else or think that there was anything that should have belonged on this list, let me know in the comments. Mind you, this list is a byproduct of both my taste in cars and my knowledge of what is currently out there. So if there's anything I didn't think of, throw it down in the comments so other people can see it and be aware of what other options they have. That being said, I hope that you enjoyed and got something out of this video, and I thank you for watching.